All right, the Chasing Dirt podcast with Jack Ellison here. We've got a special guest from our friends from the north. We got Adon Rigg. How are you, Adon?
I am absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for having me here.
No, I've been chasing you down for about 2 years. I've been kicking around an idea and this podcast, and I saw you doing some cool stuff. I don't know, it had to be 2 or 3 years plus now that you've been cutting edge doing next level things. And I think I officially met you at the ISSA show about 3 years ago, and you were giving a presentation about next level thinking, next level selling. And I said, I got to get that guy eventually. If I ever do a podcast, I got to go on the show. So I'm privileged to have you here. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad you took the time on an afternoon to kick around the business. And the whole premise here is just to get to know about you a little more and just shoot the jive about the cleaning business. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I remember meeting you in Dallas for the first time. Absolutely.
So tell me this. So we're all in the cleaning business. And again, we're a very kind of a growing niche community out there, especially electronically. You know, you've known 1,000 people, more than 1,000 people over your life, but we're starting to become a presence within the whole virtual reality or kind of this virtual space out there of social media, podcast, video podcasts, and marketing, all this stuff. But how did you roll into the business of cleaning? If you wouldn't mind, give me an overview.
Yeah, I'll give you a long-winded but as short answer as I can, because that's a great story, actually. So very quickly, I grew up very poor, living in a bus. Then my parents got into business. My family started the Vancouver Canucks Traveling Fan Club. My mom got an exclusive with Mexicana Airlines. We had a travel wholesale company. It would be like Fiesta West type of thing. And I had a Suzuki Samurai when I was 16, a Z24 when I was 17, I had a Corvette Fastback when I was 18, and I was bankrupt and homeless when I was 19. And my parents didn't spend their money properly and all kinds of stuff. So I went across to welfare. Welfare said, sorry, you got to be 19, go pick cherries. So I was trying to find out what to do. So I skated from job to job, and I finally got a job. In the paper, it said something about a manager or something for $20 an hour. So I went to the interview and I walked out. I had the job. I was a $20 per demo. If you did a demo an hour, selling filter clean vacuums door to door.
Wow.
So I was working with a guy named Kevin. I'd been there for a few months and I was having some success. You have a few weeks where you're ups and downs and stuff, but I was doing the best I could. I wasn't doing too bad. And sometimes we had work whiffs. And so I worked with a guy named Kevin one day, and then we worked the second day. And we got in my car. Long story short, my car broke down. I remember flames coming out of it and stuff like that. The fire department came. He went back to the office. I couldn't have a job anymore selling vacuums. I didn't have a car. Never thought of him anymore. So I got a job doing a junior accountant. I was punching numbers into the computer. And I was getting paid $1,500 a month. And the guy behind me was a year one accountant. He was getting $1,600 a month. The guy behind him was year three getting $100 more, like $1,600, what's $1,700. And the guy behind him was a fourth year accountant, and he was getting like $2,000 a month. I'm like, holy cow.
Yeah.
And, there was this girl there that kept talking with me, flirting with me. And she came up to me while I was punching my digits in and said, my boyfriend wants to talk to you. I said, your boyfriend? Okay. So I grabbed the phone, and nowadays the name Adon's very common, or more common. But back then the name was not common at all. I never knew anyone up until about 10 years ago that had the name. And the voice on the phone goes, you used to sell vacuums? I said, yeah. He goes, oh, it's Kevin. Kevin, whose car caught on fire, right? 2 years later. I said, oh, holy cow. I said, what are you doing? He goes, I'm selling for a company called West Clean, selling janitorial supplies. And I said, janitorial supplies? Like what? He goes like, toilet paper, stuff like that. I'm like, you sell that stuff? I thought you just went to the grocery store and grabbed that stuff. He goes, no. He goes, actually, we're looking at someone if you want a job. So I dropped my resume off and had an interview, and I started at $700 base salary, $500 car allowance, which put me into about $1,200 a month, which is about $200 worse. But I wasn't catching the bus an hour and a half each way and all this stuff. I boarded my dad's car for the first little bit, and still partying and all that stuff too. So I remember my two buddies partying, and they had stayed up all night, and I got up for work, and I knew they had partied the whole night. They're sleeping. So I went to the bank machine, and I just punched $20, right, because it was payday, my first paycheck. And the $20 came out, and then the slip of paper came out and showed me my balance. And there was commissions as well. And I never really considered commissions or not. And the check was $1,350 or something like that. And I was like, holy cow. I had a buddy that was a journeyman plumber making $21 an hour working his arse off. And that's what he was bringing home. And I was like, holy cow, there can be good money in selling. And so that kind of grabbed me. So I've been in the janitorial cleaning industry. That's all I've been in since February 1994. So 29 years.
Wow, that's a hell of a story right there.
Isn't it?
All
Yeah,
dynamics.
I think it's a great story because like if my name was Bob or Mike or Bill, he would have never ever had said, "Oh, let me talk to him," because she wasn't. You don't say to people, "Oh, Bob Willis is over there,"
Sure.
right? Like right? You say Aiden or Bob or Mike, and because of that, it changed the whole trajectory of my life, and I don't know where it would have gone because I was broke. And I was, yeah, it wasn't good. I was struggling. I was trying, but it was tough.
What do you get into it? Again, I joke, but I'm serious when I say it. But you're either born in the business or you stumble into it, and you definitely stumbled into it. I'll admit I stumbled into it. But what money being one thing, I think everyone cleans, and there's always going to be a need for cleaning. We've had a couple podcast guests say to us that it's a safe harbor, it's a recession-proof industry to be in. But minus the money piece, as you've developed through your career, and you've done some interesting things, and we can talk about that in a little bit as well. But what kept you in the business? Let me ask you that. What's the dynamics that truly just said, you know what, I'm going to call this a career?
I was very, very, very fortunate to have my first sales manager be the best sales manager I ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a teacher. He was a hard nosed, you know what, but at the same time, he was great. And I would be with him sometimes going role playing, asking questions and stuff from like being in the office near the end of the day at 5 o'clock, leaving at 8, 9 o'clock and talking about these conversations and stuff. And in those conversations would come up about it being recession proof, about everybody needs toilet paper, just about these things and that. And in those first few months, there was a number of young guys that started and they left predominantly because it wasn't sexy. I remember a guy named Joe, him and I working together, and we went and did a night demo. I was asked to help him out, and I knew he was going to leave, and he was simply going to leave because he had gone to school and thought he should have a better career selling something like finance or whatever, and didn't like the idea of being a toilet paper salesman or
Yep.
in the general. He just didn't. And he would last a month or two and he went off and did whatever he did. And I'm sure he did well, but it was just one of those things that, like wherever you go, someone needs what you have. It's just how you sell it and how you position it, but they need it. It's not like, everyone needs to clean. Everyone needs, and then look in hindsight now, almost 30 years later, COVID would come out. And I don't know if there was an industry that did better.
True.
And at the same time, I think it elevated the industry. I think it's not, maybe didn't elevate as much as I thought it was going to have during it, because I think it's going down a little bit, but it's elevated the industry, and that's a good thing. So it just, all in all, it's just a good industry. It's treated me well, and I raised my kids and paid off my mortgage and all that stuff as a Jansan guy.
Yeah, no, that's good perspective. I think the thing too about it is, I think we're at an interesting point of the industry. COVID forced some things very quickly to the forefront. I say often is we went from the boiler room to the boardroom overnight when COVID kicked in. And I think everyone I knew that was in the business was busier than they've ever been, and the profit was higher than it's ever been. And that was a welcome kind of event in some ways, not others, but as far as bringing value and people seeing the value we could bring to the industry overall was huge, or to the clients we service was huge. But I think there's also a dynamic that no one really wants to get into it, but I'm starting to see a little trickle of good talent from day one. And I say day one, people getting out of college or people getting out of high school and saying, hey, I'm going to devote myself to this industry, from the sales side, from the operations side. And the people who are getting into the business today, the young men and young women, are bringing some technology advancement. We joked in the pre-interview about Jansan historically being on the leading edge of low technology. And I know you're doing some innovative things with the technology with Lead Freak, and we'll talk about that in a little. But do you feel that the next generation that will be coming in will help elevate this unsexiness will always be there, because it's just cleaning and does it. No one wants to really do it, but it's a need there. But do you see with autonomous floor machines, you're seeing with software tools, Aspire I had on this podcast, you're just doing next level things. I've got another podcast with another software technology. You've got your software technology. Do you see technology really taking a hold here in the next 5 to 10 years or less? What's your position? What's your opinion on that overall?
Yeah, I don't see how it's not. I don't see how it's not. And yeah, I see that a younger generation coming up. The first one that comes to mind is Ricky with Get Route as an example.
Yep.
A smart guy, came into the industry from his family and worked in the industry and said, where can we fix things? How can we make things better? How can we, and did that and created programs and stuff as well. So I see the industry definitely changing. There's the cleaning industry is one side and the cleaning supplies industry is the other side.
Mm-hmm.
The cleaning industry at this point, the latest data, I think it's only 2.7% of the market is anything with like conglomerates or franchises or that type of thing. Where on the supply side, it's getting condensed, and it's getting condensed fast. In the last 6 months, I had a customer that I lost because they got acquired by a big company, and then that company got acquired like in 6 months, like acquire. In that, I see a lost art for people that are educating the facility managers, the workers. A lot of that used to be done by the traditional Jansan salespeople. And when I first started in this business, you could get any Jansan person, usually a guy, but any person. There's some females for sure, and say, "Hey, wasn't expecting. Can you show us how to strip this floor?" And boom, they could do it, and that's not the case anymore. So that piece, I'm not sure where the disconnect's where that's gonna get fixed, because the big organizations that are buying the traditional Jansan supplies, they're not interested in training and service. They're interested in dropping a box.
Yep.
So that piece I'm interested, but as far as the cleaning aspect side and having a janitorial cleaning company in that, it's a long way from it becoming controlled by a precious few. That's for sure.
Yeah. No, I think when I was saying the company, the organization, the group that controls the training is going to control the influence, I think, as we go forward. Dropping a box, I think, is one thing. I think you've been in sales. I think those, unfortunately or fortunately, those late night demos, that's what's paid your mortgage off. That's what raised your kids, that ability to go out there in the field and solve those problems. And that's where you shift the dynamics, that when you start to bring value to customers and then you ask them for referrals or they just give you referrals, that's where things start to compound and things get much more interesting from a compensation standpoint, but also just a satisfaction of your job and what you're bringing to the table. So no, I like your perspective. And overall, like you have your own organization now, Lead Freak. So you've been through the whole distribution, you've been through the manufacturing side as well, I believe. And
Yep.
the Lead Freak, tell the audience overall. And again, Lead Freak's been developing, and as more technology comes out, you're getting down some niches that are pretty interesting. But at a high level, if you had to say, here's what Lead Freak you bring to the table with Lead Freak, what are the core items you want to get across?
Yeah, we are predominantly automating top of the funnel prospecting, things on automation. There is absolutely zero to pay anyone to go in and out of a building, say, hey, do I talk to who's in charge of this? Yeah. Is there a need for it? Sure. There's no anything written, no one rule for everything. Is there a need for that person to target special industries or special accounts within a geographical area? Absolutely. But to have a salesperson with a book of business, let's say $1 million, and they're supposed to grow at 10%, which they don't, and then they're taking the orders, and then the unwritten rule is we get rid of Johnny. Johnny's going to take a third of his business. He's going to pick up the phone, the distributor's going to hire him right away because he's got this known business, because they can't grow their business organically. So it's stuck in that conundrum right now. As those salespeople leave and retire and stuff, and technology takes over, there's no way they're going to be hiring salespeople to take over that territory. Like I have an acquaintance of mine who owns a distribution company. He has not had a salesperson in 3 years. He has inside people, but an outside salesperson. He tried hiring 3 people. He spent $250,000 on 3 people over about 2.5 years, and had about $20,000 in business, $30,000 in business. And it's not fair to the reps, because they're hired and they have no book of business to get things going, and they're just making cold calls all day. Mm-hmm. And they haven't been trained how to sell. So they're walking in saying, yeah, I'm from XYZ supplier. And they say, oh yeah, send me your price list. And so they, oh great, I got a great opportunity here. They just give the price list, and you know exactly what the person does. They say, "Oh, thanks a lot," and they phone up their existing distributor or whatever, and they say, "Hey, Adon was just in here and he gave me some prices, and I need to sharpen your pencil." But and the only person that wins is the customer.
Mm-hmm.
Margins are getting driven down, but the customer doesn't really win because now there's no room for margins for them to go do a floor demo or do that stuff. The margins are cut. So it's a really unique situation, at least here in Canada. 5 years ago, there was 3 primary Jansan distributors that were like the guys. Yep. Spoke of those top 3 A players, and then there was B players. And those 3 are now owned by Bunzl. I saw the truck go by an hour and a half ago with a different name, Bunzl Colors. And then you start going to the customers, and they didn't notice anything post-COVID, but now they're like, oh, like that service they were used to, and that just isn't there. So it's in a unique situation, especially here in Canada. And so having somebody go and do that for you is a complete waste of time and a complete waste of money, in my opinion, when you can click a few buttons and get all the leads you want within 5 minutes from my computer right here. Right? I can get your name, your first name, your last name, your LinkedIn URL, your phone number. I can get all the information, and then I can have a program to reach out to you and say, hey Jack, hey Bob, hey Bill, are you the person I should speak to? And then those people, or the people that respond, that say, oh yes, hi Bob, whatever. Now you go from one to many to one to one.
Yep.
And that's where the value comes in. But having someone go and do that old school cold calling and that for you, I just don't know why anyone would do it, to be honest.
No, that's a good point. This is a whole nother. We could spend hours talking about this. But if you look at most sales reps, again, as we're talking about, this is not just about distribution sales rep. This could be about a BSC, a building service contractor, a residential cleaners, their funnel that they're selling. And again, if people aren't familiar with the funnel, is to Aiden's point, is how do you take 1,000 names and throw it into a funnel and start a process? And as that process, that 1,000 becomes 100, and those 100 become 25, and those 25 become 5 true new clients that along the way. But if you look at any sales rep, for the most part, most of them are glorified customer service reps, especially in the Jansan distribution. You look at a guy or gal writing a few $1 million in the business, most of their day, most of their week, most of their month is not business development. It's account maintenance. They're solving delivery issues. They're fixing accounting issues. They're doing everything but selling. And to your point, when they are selling, it's often, I'm going to get in a car. I'm going to drive around. If I'm in a neck of the woods and I see this new office building going up, or I see a new contractor that's over here, or just I drive by something, I'm going to stop in and get a business card. So all of a sudden, to get that one business card is probably an hour worth of effort. That if you had a race, and I use the analogy, if you had a race, if Adon, you and I were going to have a race of who can get 50 contact names quicker, would it be getting in a car and going to drive to 50 locations and get a business card, or would it be jump on a phone and make 50 calls and get what you need and put into a system? So I'm huge on this separating business development from account management, and really getting sellers focused on selling and not so much on account maintenance or being a customer service rep, in person. So speak to me a little bit about because you triggered something, but the 1,000, like if we come to you, a client comes to you, I don't care who it is, as long as they're trying to sell a service or a product or whatever it may be, how do you come up with, is it geography based? Is it a database that you say, I want to call on restaurants, or I want to focus on cleaners? How do you pull a list together? Is that what's the secret sauce there, or what you can share?
Yeah. So I have a new customer came on board just the other day, and he's in the Seattle area, and he wanted all the private schools and colleges, right? And he wanted about 1,000, and we found 366. Okay. We've got 366 in the area. There's not 1,000. So then he says, well, we want manufacturing. And so we got 704. And I open up the little thing here. I don't know if you can see, this is on my phone, but there's all the names, phone numbers, emails. We've verified them. So what does that mean? It means we've put it into a system. The system's gone out and said, yes, this is a real email address, and this goes into someone's real inbox.
Nice.
Right? Right. Everything you need is right. Look at that. Those are all the LinkedIn URLs, just as an example. So, right. And I click it here and right? I just won't do on this, but anyway, goes right to their LinkedIn. I can reach out to them on LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. So what does that took? That took about 16 hours, but that's 1,000, and we're getting the phone numbers. If you don't want the phone numbers, you can get most of it in an hour. The phone numbers the phone numbers is a lot more time consuming, and then you use multiple different tools and platforms for it. But how long would it take you or anyone in traditional methods to make 1,000 even just to get a list of the contacts of 1,000 people? You could sit here right now. Anyone could sit here right now, and you wouldn't come up with more than 100. You just wouldn't. The brain can't. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, that school district. Yeah, that school district. Right? You wouldn't come up with more than 100. So in that general Seattle area, we have that. So now we've got the names now. So now all that is a name, and it's a suspect, right? But let's put it into a system, and let's have automation go out, and the ones that demonstrate interest, now let's focus our time. So I give a great analogy, and the analogy is best for me is put yourself back into your younger days, and you're going to go out and you want to meet your wife, right? And you walk into, let's say, a nightclub, and there's 1,000 people. Where do you start? Who do you talk to? What, right? But your buddy comes up to you and says, "Hey, you know what? That young lady over there really thought you're handsome, and she'd like to meet you." Right? Like, okay. Yep. So now you have a warm call, right? Right? And people are still running around trying to ask for marriage on the first day and stuff like that. I just don't get it. So what do you, and then what does that person want? Back to the facility manager of a school board. What do they want? They don't want a cleaner facility. They don't respect a cleaner facility. They're not going to pay for cleaner. You can't clean cleaner than clean, right? If it's not clean, they're going to complain and put someone. So how are you going to knock someone else out? I'm saying I'm going to clean better unless you're at a cheaper price, and a lot cheaper price. Because if you're only about 2 or 3% cheaper, they're going to go to the person and say, "Hey," correct. And they'll knock the price. So how do you get a customer to switch from you? By basically coming in and saying, "Hey," subconsciously, "you've made a real mistake hiring that cleaning company. We'll clean better." What's better? We'll clean better. What is better? Right? Like, people don't respect cleaning, and they're not going to pay for cleaning, and that's never going to change in my lifetime. It's just not. But people do care about health. They care about safety. They care about risk reduction. They care about improving the planet. They care about all of those things. So just understanding the industry and putting a little effort into learning the industry and not just facilitating the task. And walk into a school board. So what's a school board maybe care about? They might care about improved math scores. They might care about improved reading scores. They might care about reducing sick days. They might care about those reducing risk, right? The restaurant or the building that has 100 employees, as an example, they might care that cleaning properly, effectively, and with proper products will improve cognitive function by 61%, right? They might want to listen to that. And when you say that to them, they're going to go, "I've never heard that before." I know you've never heard that before, because no one is taking the time to learn the industry, to articulate what people care about. They're just like, "I'll clean it better." For how much? For $500 a month. We're paying $500. Like, and that's why it's not happening. So, but trying to get people to adapt to that language and to take that on, it takes someone that's driven. My past life, I worked as a manufacturer's rep, and I worked with so many reps, and they loved bringing me in and hearing the spiel, but very few adopted it.
Yeah. But they bought into the principle. You shifted the dynamics. You shifted the conversation. So what they bought off on, or bought from you, basically, is the concept. Even though they didn't implement it, I think they maybe felt a little less guilty that they're doing. I guess they're doing the right thing to the next level, even though they didn't buy off on it.
Yeah, I just did training on it for the company doesn't have any reps. They have a guy that goes and has been with them for a few years and goes and installs dispensers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And he does that and the warehouse and stuff. And then he had some questions for me, because he gets a little bit salesy and asks questions while he's there, but his role is not sales. So we're talking about this. And I gave him a great analogy. I said, when you walk in, so I was teaching him the pH scale. And I said, this is important that you understand this.
Mm-hmm.
I said, there's really only about 8 products: bowl cleaner, like neutral cleaner, general purpose cleaner, heavy duty glass cleaner, floor stripper, maybe 7, 8. And everything else is colors and dilution rates and gallons and what have you. There's maybe 10 products, and everything else is bells and whistles and stuff, like whiskey, right? There's whiskey, and then there's all different types of whiskey or vodkas. It's not really much different.
Sure.
But when you walk into a customer and they say, well, I'm really happy with someone, thank you very much. Okay, thanks, goodbye. Or you sit back and say, you know what, that's awesome. Do you mind if I just see your closet? Or give me a quick little tour since I'm here. Okay, can we just do a little tour? All right, and then you walk into the closet and you look and you see that they have their general purpose cleaner as an example. Okay, and you look at it and go, oh, this is a great product. Yeah, our team loves it. Yeah, Mr. Customer, this is a 13-page product. And I would love to show you a product that is a 10-page that will do exactly the same thing, but it's going to reduce your liability and your risk exposure by 1,000. Like, who the heck is not? I've never in my life had someone say, "Oh, I don't care about that."
Yeah.
Nah, leave the employees to be more exposed to chemicals. Nobody. And even if they thought that, they're not going to say it to you, right? They're just not. But most people go, oh, we have a product just like that as well. Oh, give me your price. And that's the industry. And when people recognize that there's a story that's a legitimate story, and that what we really do at the end of the day is we reduce the risk to people, planet, and profits, sustainability, right? That's what we do. Everything we do is risk reduction. Then we're extremely important to the industry. The challenge is getting people to recognize that. And that's been on a grand scale, right? Obviously people do and understand that and that, but on a grand scale. So that's what we do. That's what we do. We eliminate top of the funnel, and then the people that show interest, we educate them on a regular basis, a weekly basis with content on, hey, what is Green Seal? Right? 1 week of video, 1 week an article. Hey, what's Eco Logo? Hey, what to look for in microfiber pads? Hey, what's the different types of vacuums? Whatever, just educating them predominantly around the outcomes of cleaning, right? Predominantly. So sometimes you get a little more product specific and stuff like that, but the outcomes of cleaning and stuff like that. And then those that are watching and clicking and all that stuff on a regular, right? You've got a digital fingerprint of their behavior. And that's when your sales team or person gets involved and spends that time, because that one-to-one time, you picking up that phone, making a phone call or what have you, that's expensive.
Yep.
Right? It's expensive. You're paying someone for that time, or going to make that call for that time. So make sure that they're interested. Make sure they're at least open to having a conversation.
So I'm getting a picture now. So the funnel I get, there's a huge value there. Just again, think about if you could walk in and say, these market segments I want to focus on in this market, these areas, you can help pull that together. So there's a huge value there, first of all. So that's the amount of time and energy wasted driving around getting that, and then hopefully getting inputted. So that's one thing. So that's a value there. So as you develop these lists, these rosters by market segment, you can go pretty much any market segment. If I want to call on daycares, you could pull a list for daycares, right?
No problem.
If I want to call on food processors, you've got that. So pulling that together, then at that point, do you help cater these messages? Because every funnel, every market segment is going to have its own unique funnel, I imagine, based on what's.
Yeah, everyone has a different hot button, right? Like a mall, the facility manager of a mall probably doesn't care about improving math scores, right? I'm just a hunch, right?
A small hunch.
Right. But he or she does care about improving indoor air quality, improving productivity, just little things like when you point it out to somebody and that, right, that they don't notice. So as an example, there's a number of times a year that I'll go into a restaurant and I'll be sitting there. I'm there for 2 or 3 minutes and I'm talking to the person I'm with, and I'm very aware because I'm in the industry, but most people aren't because they're not in the industry. And all of a sudden I'm sniffly, right? And like, why am I sniffly? Why do I feel like I'm getting a cold? And all of a sudden, I didn't feel that 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago. I'm in this place because something's wrong with the indoor air quality of that place. Mm-hmm. And what is it? It could be the underarm deodorant. of the waiter waitress. It could be the hairspray. It could be the residue on the tabletop. It could be the residue in the carpets. It could be the ventilation. It could be a lot of things. But if I'm feeling sniffly in 5 minutes in that building, what's the waiter or waitress feeling like? They've been there 8 hours a day. They don't even recognize it because they're not in the business. And so their thought process, their enthusiasm, their cognitive function is going down. And what does that mean? It means they're not as friendly to the coworkers, not as friendly. All these things, these all have implications. So risk is involved in all aspects, right? Risk to the people, the planet, the facility, and at the end of the day, it's also a risk to your profits. So so that's what we do. So so we do that, and then we automate so much. So as an example, someone misses an appointment with you, touch a button, boom, automates, right? Hey, sorry we missed you today. Reschedule, right? Waits a day, sends them a text message. Waits a day, sends them another email reminder. Right? Whatever. You can automate everything. And we have created all that for the cleaning industry. So they don't have to go in there and think, okay, what am I going to say in this email? One that's done for you. What do I have to say here? Yeah, you got to go in and add your logo and add the links to your Facebook link and all that kind of stuff. But that's all you have to do. So once you're set up, and then you just put the system in place.
Yeah, no, we used to talk in the universal business needs, CHIPS, CHIPS. Again, that's CHIPS, CHIPS, and the universal business needs. And you outline that at a very high level. But people make business decisions, primarily on cost, health, CHI, image, P for productivity, and S for sustainability. So if you look at different market segments and you're looking to build a funnel with a message, to your point, and that's the place where you got the sniffles, their driver there is going to be about productivity. If you look at a college, it's about image and sustainability. You'll probably rank those back and forth depending on, at the end of the day, if I'm spending $60,000, $70,000 a year for my kid to go to school somewhere, I want the sustainability to some level, but quite honestly, I want the image and the look, to health and safety, and the look to look the best. So I think everyone knows when you look at CHIPS or the universal business needs, cost is always going to be an equation. And I always said, let's take cost out of the equation. If minus that, is health more, is that health, is that image, is that productivity, or sustainability? What's the higher buttons you want to hit? And maybe that's some of the automation you talk about, is maybe you don't know with respective clients what that hot button is, but through those series of funnels or questions you're asking, you start to identify this without having a conversation. It's just a quick little, hey, we'd like to educate you a little bit of micro-dosing education every week. Are you interested? Yes. And then maybe that next week, to your point, what are the 3 hot buttons for you within your facility? Is it this, this, or this? And all of a sudden you get a little more answers to the test. You're still giving them micro doses of training material, which is great, or educational material, which is great. At what point do you find, are you asking, again, the term out there for people who aren't familiar, but there's a call to action. As you go along this funnel, you don't want to wait till the 15th step for them to be able to order something. You want to give them, hey, if you want to keep going down the funnel, that's fine. And again, hopefully they don't know they're going down a funnel, but at what point do you start to do a call of action that I want to raise my hand? I want to learn more about that solution or that topic. Is that different for by client, or what do you see most successful? Like,
you always have a call to action at the end of, except for the first few prospecting emails, like it's like, are you the person in charge of whatever? But on the weekly content, as an example, you always have a learn more tab or something, right? Click here. Now, when someone clicks that, it can take them to, let's say you're talking about,
let's just talk air filtration. Let's talk air filtration. I think that's a hot button everyone's talking about.
Let's talk about say you're talking about filtration, right? So to learn more, and they click filtration, and it goes to what? The website? No, not your website. Your website is 1,000 digits. They're going to go, oh my God, get the hell out of here, right? But one page brochure, right? One page. Here is on filter. What do I need to do? You need to focus on this one thing, Mr. Customer, filtration, right? That's the call to action. You're going to educate them. Now, in that landing page that you send them to, they can fill out and get a meeting or what have you. But what we want insight. We want data. So if someone clicks that learn more to go to that filtration page, then let's take that person and drop them into this bucket and this bucket says people that click that link, right? And then you're going to automate that. So you're like, hey, just recognize that you click the link on filtration. You might find this video of interest. You might find this of interest, whatever. And then your team can look at it and sit back and based on your ability as a team, how many people you have, your infrastructure, your bandwidth, all those things. When is someone going to reach out to that person? Because yes, a lot of the people out there that are BSers and stuff that are spending $250,000 a month on YouTube videos and stuff, yeah, they'll do it all on inbound marketing. Okay, yeah. That's not reality. Reality is that you need to reach out to people most of the time because you're in a fine geographical area, right? You're not spending $250,000 a year on like Ty Lopez on YouTube videos. So you reach out to somebody, but just think of it, right? Like when you were younger, right? People were sitting around the rim of the dance floor, right? At the sock hop, waiting to be asked to dance. So you have to be the person at some point that reaches out and asks someone to dance.
Yep.
What you want is data to tell you, listen, you're going to stop what you're doing right now, or you're going to put everything aside. You're going to pick up the phone. You're going to phone. Right? You're spending time to go after this person. Go after someone that you're pretty positive. They're pretty positive is at least going to say yes to a dance.
Yeah, they see value and the right song's been picked. And again, that's the key. But that's what you put together, though. You're using an analogy again. You're putting together with the feedback from your clients. You're putting together that content that they feel that people should see value. You're help putting that in digestible mode a mode, right? You're saying this is.
Yeah, we have a different sliding scale of services, but that for very low cost, that's all available to you. And if you want more hands-on and where you're actually sitting in doing strategic calls together and what have you, we have that as well. But from that piece, yeah, absolutely. And then on top of that, when we also include all the training, so like all the things I talked about, indoor air quality, health and safety. How do you get that? We include that in it for our customers, and the importance. Everyone in our industry, everyone needs, whether or not you're selling cleaning supplies or services, you want the walkthrough.
Yeah.
Right? Not that we have 1,500 square feet, give me a quote. We have 1,500 square feet and 3 toilets and blah, blah, blah. Oh, here's the price. No, the walkthrough. Because in the walkthrough, you're going to build a relationship. You're going to identify things that you just wouldn't have identified before. And what you're trying to do is not give them a quote on what it's going to cost them to clean this facility. You want to give them a quote on on what they need to do to fix the things that are at risk, that are at risk for their people, for their employees. Let me give you a classic example. Imagine you're selling cleaning supplies and you have a care home. Right? You have a care home. I've been to so many care homes and watched the people being trained, and they're like, whatever happens, if Mr. Jones falls down, whatever you do, you take your chemicals, put them in the cart, lock it, and then go help Mr. Jones. Why are they saying that, Mr. Lock it? Because they don't want, while you're going to help Mr. Jones, someone else walks by, has got Alzheimer's patient, and go, oh, this is Kool-Aid, and drink it, right? That's what they don't want. But if you understood the LD50 count, and recognize that an LD50 count of 5 grams per body compared to 2 grams per body weight, although that doesn't sound like much, is the difference between a capful, a lot of green products, by the way, are cap, or a 1 liter that you would have to drink. No one's going to drink 1 liter of product. So understanding that, hey, like you're using products that a capful can put Mr. Jones in jeopardy, let's get rid of those. Like you're clean 90% of the time. You don't need a product that's going to do that. No. You just don't, right? So it's eliminating all these potential risks. What are all these potential risks? Oh, potential risk is that the employees are going to potentially mix products together. Let's get them products between a 4 and 10 pH. That way they don't interact, right? Just how can we eliminate all these risks? And when you understand that and you're walking through a facility, you can sit back and go, okay, and you just start making all these notes. Not going to start saying to people, oh, you need to do, right? No, this is ammunition, right? Come back, and then you're going to come back to the customer and say, hey, I noticed all these different ways you're not in that call, on the second call, right? All these ways that you're running risk liability, you're liable here. You know,
and most of your clients are already doing this. They know the answers to the test, but to your point, they're trying to do it one account at a time, one visit at a time. And I think what you're bringing to the table, and I use this a lot as well, but you're putting leverage, the information. You're taking that 1 pound of pressure, that 1 pound of knowledge, and you're moving 100 pounds worth of weight. But then you're putting, the beauty of it, what I see you're doing is you're scaling this like crazy, like mad. It's doing what you're doing every service provider, every distributor is doing right now, one account by one account, but you're just doing it at mass scale. And quite honestly, you're digging up probably another 70, 80% of the client base opportunities that exist that people aren't even aware of because they haven't passed it in their car. They haven't found it in the yellow book. They haven't seen it on a Google search. Is that a...
But yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, one of the best lessons I learned, which took me a long time to get, I was very, very successful doing what I was doing and I didn't even know this, but you don't want to sell improvement. Nobody wants to improve. They just don't. They don't want to improve, right? It's time consuming. It takes work. I don't want to improve. It's good enough. It's good enough. But here, on the promised land, this new opportunity you never knew about. You didn't know about indoor air quality. It wasn't your fault when you picked them. You didn't know indoor air quality, health, and safety. You didn't know you could mitigate risk. You didn't know this. Now you do. Come over to this new opportunity. That's going to get people a lot faster than trying to sell improvement. Most people are trying to sell improvement. And you get one here and one there. If it didn't work, people wouldn't do it. But it's kind of like golf, right? Yeah, most of us suck, but now and again you hit a great one. It's straight. You go, okay, yeah, and you keep going, and you suck, you shank, you right, and then finally you get it right. So it works. If it didn't work, no one would do it. But it does work, but it works slow and it's painful, and that's why most places just kind of like, oh, we've tried this, we've tried that. We go to networking events, we do this to try to grow our business because them going and doing proposal after proposal doesn't get them anywhere.
Yeah. Let me ask you this then. I appreciate the insight. This is interesting. Again, this is where sales is going. This is not a fad. This is definitely not a fad. Everybody's hearing about AI technology and the things you can do with AI. That I posted an article on CleanSquare the day that here's 8 tools with AI you can use that will pretty much wipe out about 4 days worth of work in 3 hours. And what you're describing is very much a similar thing. And it's doing it 24/7. It's not just doing it from 8 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if you're lucky. But tell me a story about, I'm someone interested in this, first of all. So I'm a client or a potential client who's interested in this. What would I have to bring to the table to you to start the process, and what aha moments will I experience, and then what results should I start to see? And again, everything takes time to ramp up, but walk me through that process of, Adon, I like what I hear. Let's give this a go. Walk me through that kind of that.
And what type of industry are you?
Let's just say we're going to be a building service contractor,
yeah.
And I want to go after 3 different market segments. Let's just call it Class A office. I want to swing big. I want to go after, let's go biomed. And then finally, let's go after one other niche market that we want to do. Let's just say we want to do contract project work for nursing homes. So those 3 markets. And again, we might forget them, but those 3 markets that are very diversified. So we're swinging big, we're swinging everyday work, and we're swinging project work. So we've got 3 buckets.
So we're gonna do 3 things, right? And the first thing is we're gonna pick our target markets and we're gonna get that list. Okay, that's your outbound outreach. The second thing is we want to have an inbound strategy as well. So what's an inbound strategy? Inbound strategy is leading someone to not your website. Okay. I'm going to repeat, not your website. If your website worked, you would have lots of people filling out the contact us form. And I talk to cleaning companies every day, and most of them admit they get 1 or 2 contact us requests a year. So like, it doesn't work. People go on your website, they're on for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, they're off. Oh, what do I do here? One thing, one landing page. I give my customers a webinar, an instant webinar. And we're just in the process right now. We're about 3 days away where there's going to be an automated 5-minute video about the company. It's generic and it'll appear to be them, people, planet, people, process, and products. But right now we help them create a webinar. And so that's your inbound. So someone lands, they sign up for a webinar. and it automates with our thing. So they're going to get emails and all that stuff. But we also know if they watched 20%, 25%, 50%. We also know if they clicked the poll. We also know if they downloaded the ebook you offer them for free, what have you. We know all this. So we know that. So I actually, just to digress for a second, I actually have one customer that has flipped it on the head. It was a great idea. Say
that again. Say that again. I have what?
We have a customer that's flipped the idea on their head. It was a great idea.
Okay.
And I never thought of it. And so what they're doing is they're making, because the cleaning industry right now is hard to get people, and they're spending so much time phoning people, blah, 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 setting them an appointment to come in, and those people don't even show up. What they're doing is making them go through the webinar. And they know if those people watch the whole webinar, how much of it they watch. And then at the end, the very end, it pops up, says, if you're interested, click here and set up a time. And they don't get that until the end of the webinar. So only people that are interested, that have watched the full webinar and then click at the end, are people that have put some time in. So that, I digress, but that's what they're doing. But what we want to do is lead people to the webinar. The third piece is, so you got your outbound, your inbound, and the third piece is a few things. Number one is we give you all the social media posts you need. Okay, there's over 200 on disinfecting. So we're 100 on just disinfecting, because I think COVID, anything out of COVID, I think people are realizing you got to get out of the quats. And I'm advocating getting out of quats too. So disinfecting, a lot on disinfecting and stuff. But then we also have 100 cards that are done for you on indoor quality math scores, all those things. And you post to your social media sites. What we do is we take your Facebook, your Instagram, text messages, chat on your website, and everything into one central thing. So if someone texts you on Facebook and says, hey, what are your store hours? Boom, it comes right to my phone or right to your inbox, right? And we're about another 30 days away from that, when that's just automatically going to answer the question for you as well. So there's 100 usual questions. What are your store hours? Blah, blah, blah. And when they type that, it's just automatically going to respond to them. But what we're doing is we're automating anyone that does an outreach to you in the digital world, right? They phone you, they email you, they text you, what have you. We capture their information, and then we're getting their information to get them into the cycle as well. So anything, simply making a phone call, and it rings once, and I hang up, boom, right? Captures their information, sends them an email. Hey, sorry we missed you. How can we help you? That type of thing. So those three aspects, and then ultimately you're taking those three and feeding them into maybe warm, hot, cold, warm, or hot at different things. So if they're just cold, as they get their weekly email, once they start to show things on their behavior, when they start to identify themselves as warm or hot based on their behavior, then you get more involved, because the system says, hey, this person just did this. Hey, this person watched the whole webinar. Hey, this person, whatever, right? And now you're focusing your time on that. So you're basically have a salesperson, an invisible salesperson, that's doing things for you.
No, I love it. Let me ask you this though. Like, let's say, okay, with those three markets, those three buckets we just talked about, we get 1,000 contacts. We put them through the cycle. Of that 1,000, let's just say 500 opt out. What happens with the 500? Do you do a grace period that you kind of let them cool off for 3, or they say they're not interested, but you let them cool off for 3 to 6 months, and then do you hit them from another route or another way to approach them, or what's for the ones that wash out? What do you do with those? Just out of curiosity.
That's a great question. We touched on that before. So what we have is we have a thing we call recipes. Mm-hmm. So we have the reactivate recipe. So let's say you have people that opted out, or people that used to be customers, aren't customers anymore, what have you. You simply just do the reactivate. So you just click the button, and it sends an email out to someone and says, hey, it's Adon here again, blah, blah, blah. Are you interested in getting a quote from us, or are you interested in this? And that person responds yes, or they respond no. So this person here just before said no. And my system automated and said, no worries. Okay.
Got you.
I didn't type that. That was automated. It said no worries. Had they said yes, they would get a different email that took them down the road of, great, let's reschedule a meeting. But right, I didn't have to touch anything. Now, that person hasn't opted out. They haven't said, take me off your list. They haven't said, leave me alone. If they did, they're gone. They're off. What we're going to do is we'll wait, and I'd have to see what list they're in. I don't know right now what list they're in, but I would, in a month or 3 months from now, ask again.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing. Is I think that's the flexibility. What I'm hearing from you is this thing can be as creative as you want to be. So maybe those 500 that wash out the first cycle, and again, they didn't say no, they just said not now, is how do you, this is where it gets interesting, is what could you get out there that kind of just piques their interest? So maybe that contract cleaner where maybe it was bad timing that was trying to do the project work in the nursing homes for floor care. Maybe it was the middle of a snowstorm. Like we're not doing floor finish right now, but guess what? When the sun starts coming out, starts getting a little better weather, and the ice goes away and the snow goes away, hey, you recircle that around, and I think that's where you get to that kind of in engagement, I guess, status, for lack of a better word. Now, here's my other question. So we put them through the funnel. We've got a good, healthy mix going through the funnel. They're going through their respective tunnels. We've got to your point, I love it, the cold, warm, hot engagement. What happens after they just say all of a sudden we landed a new piece of business? This they're a customer of ours now. They're doing business with us. Do they move into another whole funnel that now they're a customer funnel, or is that something to think about as because you don't want to continue not to micro dose the education or the value you're bringing through them.
Yeah.
What's the game plan there?
Yeah, that's a great one. I want to back up just for a sec because I put myself in the average shoes of the average small janitorial company. Mm-hmm. And what we're talking about, they're going to start going, whoa, right? So as involved as you want to get, like obviously we're talking right now, Jack, and you'd be like getting right involved and doing all types of different ninja stuff. Yeah. Absolutely, we can do that. What I have done, though, is I have made things as simple as possible for those that simply aren't computer savvy, don't want to be computer, don't have the time. And we put a lead in, we prospect to them, they get a weekly content on a weekly basis. And if that's as simple as you want to have it, that's done for you. You're looking at probably an hour worth of work to add your logos and links, and that's going to do it. What's the worst thing that's going to happen from that? The worst thing is that no one's going to respond to you for a while until they finally get pissed off at the person that's cleaning. And instead of going to Google and bunch up a thing and saying, I want you to come quote, they're going to go, who is that person that keeps, even if they don't remember your name, who's that person that sends me that stuff every week? And they're going to go back and go, oh, there he is. Okay. Hey, Bob, finally, you've earned your stripes. Come give me a quote. And you know damn well, as long as you're within 10% or whatever they're paying now, they're going to go with you because they already know, right? They have to admit failure. I admit failure. I failed with this company. Now I'll get someone. I'm going to get the safe bet. This person's been emailing me on a weekly basis. I feel confident that they are a safe bet to go with. That is what most people want that are our customers. However, those that want to get, okay, there's all these different personas. Here is the mindset of a cleaner. Here's the mindset of a general manager. Here's the mindset of a facility manager. Here's the mindset of a manager. Here's what he or she's going to do. You can have all types of things set up where just everything is automated, from what are your store hours to everything. I get it.
Let me ask you this, Matt. This is great. We're getting close to an hour to wrap up, but cost-wise, again, do you have a fee structure? Is everything customizable? How do you go about looking at this? Because I want people who are looking at this going, interest me, but what's the cost? You say minimum, maximum. What kind of range are we looking at?
Yeah. So for the do-it-yourself, we're going to have 3 pricing structures. Okay, $197 a month, $297 a month, and $497 a month. And $497 a month is going to give you everything from your website to everything you want. But right now, because we've launched Lead Freak 2.0, and probably through to the end of this year, although I'm not making any promises, we're definitely, word's getting out. We're all in for $127 a month. So everything I talked to you about, you get. And then there's so many things that I won't even want to overwhelm people. I showed you, Jack, what we can do from having your own membership site, blah, 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 invoicing people, all that stuff. It's all there. But people don't need to worry about that. They can tackle that and have that right now if they're comfortable with it and savvy enough in computer. But if you're just like, I hate computers, I don't know computers, what have you, I just want to have a system in place. Regardless, right now it's $127 a month. You get all that, including the training material.
No brainer for anybody wanting to grow their business. It's a hell of a lot cheaper than hiring a sales rep to just knock on doors, and majority of his time or her time driving. So how would we reach out? If somebody was interested in learning more, how would they find you?
Yeah, the best there's two ways you can do it. Number one is we have a weekly webinar where go live every Thursday. We 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. I try to make that time for the cleaning industry where there's not sleeping and they're not rushed engaged in their cleaning and what have you. So in that time frame, so you can watch a webinar if you're not wanting to have a conversation, what have you, and you just want to find a little bit more. The other thing is you can just go to leadfreak.ai and click the link, and you'll get a 14-day free trial. What you're going to want to have though is it'll notify us, and we'll reach out to you and set up a 1-hour onboarding where we'll do a screen share like this, and I'll walk you through everything, find out what you need, and just look after those needs. If you want everything, when we can set up a schedule for you to get there over time. But what do you want right away? You probably want some contact names. You probably want to integrate your social media platforms into one area, and you want to start getting leads, right? Getting leads as quickly as possible. So that's usually the first conversation, and we just get them set up. We integrate or link their Facebook, their Instagram, their Google My, all that stuff. So I don't even know if people know Google My Business now. We can link to your Google My Business just from within. You sign up. And now on Google My Business, there's now chat, right? I don't know if people know that because it's fairly new. And you click chat, and now people don't have to phone because people hate talking to people they don't know. So now they can text you and say, hey, what are your store hours? And it's going to come right to your phone, and you can reply to it. And in about 30 days, you're not even going to have to reply to it. The system's just going to say, hey, our store hours are Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, or hey, who am I speaking to? Whatever. Who am I speaking to? Oh, Jack. Hey, Jack. Yeah, can we get on a call? I can talk to whatever. Right? Like it's automating as much of what you want until the person's ready to have a conversation.
If you guys are not looking at this technology, again, Adon, this has been informative. This has been great, and what you're doing is great. I think there's going to be a learning curve with any of this stuff, but I think the heavy lifting, once you get these pipelines or these funnels put in place, and you get here's the sequence of them, this thing is working 24/7, 7 days a week for you. And I think that's the beauty of it. And as you start to develop out more lists, more contacts, and again, keep your sales reps in place, knock on doors, but as they get those business cards, they're feeding into the funnel, and you just start the process all over again with these additional individuals you're adding to it. I think it's a beautiful thing. So leadfreak.ai, correct?
.ai, yeah. And it's just, you just made me think of something there, just like, because a lot of the people in the cleaning industry are busy. They're some are not as technical savvy as they'd like to be. And you just got to recognize that times have changed. I'm 51. I didn't touch a computer until I was 32, 33. I've spent over $100,000 in the last 7-8 years failing and creating what I've created. I've tried everything from Infusionsoft to MailChimp to GetResponse to everything. I was like, this stuff is like piecing all this stuff together. No, we've got rid of that. We have a system that's integrated, does everything you need it to do. But I just want to say to the people that are listening is you got to recognize that you got to get on board, and you got to get on board fast because technology is changing. So now I'm going to plant the seed in your head, and now you're going to see it. Every single time you surf the internet now, at every single website you're going to, 9 times out of 10 is now going to say accept or not accept. And you are, if you're like me, you are subconsciously saying accept. The minute you are saying accept, it is tracking every single thing you do. It's tracking whether or not you go to Amazon. It's tracking whether or not you go to some other websites, how long you've been on there, all that stuff. Now, it's not necessarily, it's creepy, and you can opt out of it, and you can sit back and say no and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, this stuff's going on, and it's the technology that's being used ultimately to get sales. And if you're still relying on being good old Joe and going by and seeing someone every 3 months for the next 6 months or a year or two until they're ready to do business with you, you're going to get by.
Yeah.
You're going to get by. Right. And that, but if you want your life to change and you want to be able to go to your kids' soccer games and whatever, and not be sitting back, oh my God, I really should be doing this. I should be doing that. Technology, automate it.
I was thinking you're going to get passed by, not by. You're going to get passed by. Because I think the big companies are going to be looking at this. There's all the big companies are definitely looking at this, and again, how they've got the financial means to do the big, really big packages. But I think those small, medium, and even those people who are big companies that maybe haven't thought about this next level, I'm encouraging them to reach out to you. Just again, a 14-day trial. What's it going to hurt? At worst case, they're going to have a better understanding of how to go about sales differently. And I think that's the value that I see. And the funnels are, I think we all get our emails right now, and we see the funnels that are created around us for personal things. But on the business side, I can't stress enough the leverage and the scale that you're creating with your software. So I'm excited to see what comes out of this.
Yeah, I appreciate. Yeah, no, that's our target market. Our target is the small, medium-sized enterprises. That the name of our webinar is how to grow sales without cold calling being held hostage by an expensive hire.
Yeah.
So it's there. It's just a matter of learning it. But it is intimidating. It can be intimidating. But we have created and simplified it as much as possible. You just have to be comfortable adding your Facebook link and uploading your logo and adding your logo to the emails, and that's really it.
That's pretty simple.
Yeah. So it's pretty simple.
Adon, this has been informative. I appreciate it. I'll put the show notes. I'll put all the links and all this stuff. I appreciate your time. I appreciate us connecting finally on a live webinar.
Time I know.
And I hope to hear some results come out of this thing. But thank you again for the time. And until next time, Chasing Dirt podcast, Adon, I appreciate your time today, buddy.
Thank you, sir.